Good Monday morning. We are going to be coding some higher order functions with reduce. Actually, with a reduce that we have been writing before in the previous video where we re-implemented reduce from scratch in vanilla JavaScript, plain JavaScript. And the objective of this is to just get a feel for and not be afraid of these functions and not be afraid of higher order functions. So this is not so much about learning reduce or learning map or learning filter or learning how they work, because you probably know that already. What we want to do is get a feel for them and have more of an intuitive feel of what a higher order function is, and just make them less scary through re-implementing them. And I encourage you to not just watch me doing it and just see this video more of like, oh, it wasn't so much code, and instead just use this video to start thinking like, maybe I could do this too, and then do this on your own. Anywho, so in the last video we did this. We did a re-implementation of reduce in plain JavaScript. So the array.reduce, we just remade that. And we also called it, we renamed it fold. We played around with changing the name to it. And instead of reduce, we call it folder. But this is just really confusing us. I'm going to be using the reduce on the array for the purposes of this video. If you're interested in using reduce, like in the re-implementation of reduce, you can find that video here. So what we're going to do today is to write something that is like a filter. Alright. Oh, we're gonna write a map. Plop. That takes an array. And it also will take a callback, and the filter will take a predicate, which is also a callback function, but like it's called predicate. So vanilla hofs with reduce flop. And this is the thing we're gonna write. And in the last video, let's see here, or in the first video of the series that you can find here, we used we did this, but we used for loops instead. We used for loops. And this time we're going to be using reduce, because reduce can be used to re-implement anything, like any other higher order function or any of these array functions that, or maybe it's like reduce can be used for re-implementing anything that reduces like an array like structure, like a stream or an array or a set, probably anything into a single value. So it's this thing where we're doing like a for loop, and we are collecting into one item, or perhaps like and then returning that item, reducing like a big thing to a smaller thing, collection of things into a smaller thing. Then you can use reduce. yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Before we do that though, I'm going to talk about our sponsor today, and that is Educative. An educative, or like we should actually use the educative.io/fun function, because this code is going to give you a little bit off, some better deals, and it also tells them that you came from here. Educative.io/fun function, like you see below there, and also you can see that in the episode description if you're watching the YouTube recording. Find that there. So the point of Educative.io, the point of the service, is that they have these courses that are highly interactive and text-based. So if you're working in an environment where videos just don't work for you, or you just like text, or you also like the fact that you can copy-paste and have it a little bit more interactive, then Educative is for you. And yeah, of course, like you avoid, like, because they're interactive coding environment, you also avoid setups, and yeah, it's nice. You should check out Educative. Thank you so much for supporting the show. God, I'm a little slow today. I'm a little bit slow, I feel. We need to like get going with some energy here, and like need to be a little bit more pumped. Like I'm just gonna right. So let's see here. We have an array, and we it feels like it's more fun and logical to start with filter. So we have for the array, and the array is going to have a reduce function on it. And the reduce function will take this callback, and for every item, oops. Array reduce. Brain is fried. You know, like sometimes I find that my brain is just not responding. This happens in interviews a lot, where you just black out. You don't know what you're doing, and you just like, where am I? What am I doing? And the interesting thing is, like, as a streamer, you kind of just, a response of mine is to just like start talking about where I am, and not panic, just be like, okay, we don't know what we're doing. This also happens to me a lot, when I'm tired, or when I haven't slept enough and my brain just goes, or when I'm stressed and anxietic and not thinking about things, or so. What I do in these situations is to write down what it is I'm doing in small steps. So what are we doing? We are using array.prototype.reduce to filter an array down to another array, smaller, filtered using the predicate function. Cool. So for if we're gonna check first, is the item should the item be included according to the predicate? Yes. So we just do like const should be included. And we ask the predicate. This. Yeah. Like this. Tommy the IT guy. Dude, is your keyboard okay? Lots of typos. I'm very bad at typing. In addition, I'm moving to a US keyboard layout. And also, typing is not really important in programming. It's just like where typing is important if you are doing like live subtitles for on a TV show, then typing is really important. But in programming, really the end result is what matters. And I like to show that. Anyway, if it should be included, we are going to push it to the array. Filtered and the filtered array is going to be the first argument to reduce, or the reducer. Should we call this filtered array, or should we call it something like aggregate accumulating array? Let's call it filtered array for now. And the second argument to the array.reduce is going to be no, wait, it's going to be an empty array. I'm gonna break this out into a variable, otherwise it's not clear what is happening. So initial array, floop. So hopefully you're familiar enough to with reduce to know that reduce works like it just loops through, and then it's going to like keep returning the array and then just build upon it. So it's going to return the filtered array. And if it should be included according to predicate, we're going to push it onto the I'm gonna push the item on top of the filter array. Cool. What if this works? We'll do that. See if I have some example code here. I'm gonna steal this example code from Vanilla Hoffs, so that we're consistent with the previous episode. So we have this is more than 5 predicate. And I'm gonna just steal these example numbers here from the old Vanilla Hoffs. Some numbers here, and let's use our filter function. And we're gonna use this more than 5 predicate and go on the array. And we're going to start Quokka, which is this little inline evaluation thing that I'm using. Yeah, an array is not defined, doesn't exist. It's an array is called numbers. And we immediately get an error here. Initial array is not defined. Yeah, because I'm just using didn't define it. And now I'm gonna do const result. And I'm gonna see what result is. Result is undefined. Aha, it's not returning anything. Let me make the font a little bit smaller so that we see the entire code. Yeah, because this function is, the filter function is not returning anything yet. So let's just return. And we have 8, 9. Yeah, that was a little bit too smooth. I'm too good at this. Humility. It only took me ages and like 40 million typos. I should see here. Okay, let's have a look at this. What just happened? So what we did here is that we called reduce with this reducer. I'm gonna break out this reducer actually, so that we do more functional, like higher order functioning this as much as we can. And filter reducer, can call it that perhaps. Do you think that's a good name? Bloop. And I think that filtered array, yeah, because it's the signature of a reducer is something like the first argument here is the accumulator, and the second argument is the current item, you know. Boop. So reduce is going to feed the reducer constantly with the current item. I'm gonna name this the current item to give you a more of a feel for it. There we go. So just to show you this, I'm going to show you what current item is. You see that it's going to feed it 2, 4. So current item here is on the first loop is going to be 2, on the second loop is going to be 4, on the third loop is going to be 8, and so on, you know. And the filtered array here, let me show you the equivalent value of filtered array on every loop. Filtered array. So filtered array is going to be empty on the first loop, empty on the second loop, empty on the third loop, and 8 on the added here on a. Here we have actually added an 8. So you see here that it's gotten to 8 on that loop. Might look a little bit more sensible if we echo them out after the actual reducer has done its work, because then you get more sensible by it. So the current is 2, 4, 8, 8, 9. It's going through all the numbers, and then it's going to be on every loop. It's going to be adding the 8 here, pushing it through the array, and then it's going to be going to have 8, 9 on the final line, which is the result over here. And the where it gets the filter array from is from here. So it's just the reducer is just constantly returning the filter array, constantly returning the filter array, and then that filter array is going to be fed to the next iteration of the reducer. So it's just like going on. It's just going on. And that's it. That's it. That's how you build filter using reduce. So reduce can always be used to implement other higher order functions. Let's implement map. I'm going to move our filter function here down. I'm losing myself a lot today. I feel like I have a little bit of a mind slowdown. A little bit of a mind slowdown. It's that's the thing with just live programming, is like sometimes you just like and some days you just do, and then you have to program anyway because you need to get done with stuff, and then you just have to find ways of refocusing yourself. Sometimes that means going for a walk, but sometimes you can't, and sometimes it doesn't help, and then you just like, oh, okay, let's refocus. What are we doing? We are implementing map using reduce. So sometimes you just start typing, return array.reduce, and it's going to take an array as a second argument, and then it's going to take map reducer, and this is going to, let's make the call first, so we know that we're doing it, sort of like a unit test. Result, and we're gonna call map with what did we have? Let's just reuse the add3 function from the previous video, just to illustrate the composability of higher order functions, that we can reuse things all over the place, and like it becomes like these little neat little things that you can put together. So main point of functional programming, really, it's a composability. Not the main point, maybe. It's one of the big points. It's why composability is nice. Anyway, map will take an add3 callback. Or transformer. What do we call it in vanilla HOFs? Transform. We can call it a transform. And the second argument is going to be the array. Array is not defined. No, it's numbers. Cool. Looks like we need a map reducer. It's not defined, so let's make that reducer. Well, and as we talked about before, reducer has two arguments. It's going to be the accumulator and the current item. Oh my god, so many typos, doesn't really matter. So where do we get the accumulator from? Well, yeah, it's the third argument. It's going to be an array in this case. Empty array. And let's just redo what we did here with filter so that we're consistent and can follow what we do. So initial array is just going to be, like an empty array. And on the first loop, that's going to be the accumulator. Mapped array, call it that. And for each item, we're gonna run it through the transform and add it to the mapped array. So we're gonna just do mapped array and push. We're gonna push the current item. Push the current item, and we get cannot read property push of undefined. Why is that though? Why is mapped array empty? Return it. Return it. Like mapped array push. Oh yeah. We God, I'm so slow. I'm probably like 40, like hundreds of people screaming at the screen right there. So we actually need to return the mapped array in the reducer. I was looking down here. I'm returning. Yeah, you're not returning inside the reducer. You. Fine. Cool. Now we are actually getting a result, which is confusing me. It's 2489, 2489. It's just like the same. It's just the same array twice. That's weird. That's weird. What is happening here? What is happening here? So map producer. Suiji says line 14, you don't have to pass array as the second argument, and to remove array from reduce. All right, yeah, of course. Like this does not make sense at all. Yeah, because I'm all right. I'm thinking in two ways at the same time here, and then that's messing it up. So this is the object-oriented reduce in built into JavaScript, and I was thinking that reduce. I was thinking in terms of the reduce that they implemented in the last video. So that's where things go wrong. Things are starting to get complicated. That makes my poor little brain becomes confused. Cool. So right now we're still like seeing the same value here, numbers. I expected this to run it through the add3, so something is not happening. And it kind of makes sense because we are not making use of the transform at all. So just do that. Transform, current item, and there we go. So we're running the current item through the transform, and then we're pushing it to the mapped array. This is, if we're being, so now this works. Now Now we've implemented map and filter using reduce. Kleinfreund says he wasn't yet caring about transforming. You're too kind, Kleinfreund. I just didn't think about it because I was a vegetable. But even a vegetable can code, as we see. Even a slow one as today. And I think that we need to congratulate ourselves for, oh wow, we're done. So let's improve this code a little bit and have a look at it. So if we're being picky here, the push is not very functional because push changes the array in place, and we want in functional programming we want functions to be pure. We don't want them to mess around with the stuff that is being thrown into them. So I'm going to change this to concat instead. Map.array.concat, and just return it and get rid of this. Now it's just one line, so can get rid of the curly brackets. Nice. And let's also get rid of the push in the filter. Gonna reduce the font size a little bit. Reduce the font size a little bit. There we go. What was I doing before I started reducing the font size? Oh, so slow today. God damn it. We are going to get rid of this push. Yes, thank you. We are going to take the filter array and concat it with the current item and then return it. Otherwise, we are just going to return the filter array. So, did that work? Gonna just check that result is still 89. Cool. Yes, it works. Our refactoring worked. Yeah, client front, I'm sorry about the bass sound of the keyboard. So much wobbling in this setup. It's a much cooler setup because the arms are mounted on the table, which is a word that my brain apparently lost today. But it also makes the setup a lot more compact, but it also creates that sound. Gonna try to fix that in some way. Working on it. Client front. Words, am I right? I know some words sometimes. Right. I kind of want to use our reduce function that we wrote in the last episode. I'm just gonna try that. I'm gonna take this vanilla reduce here, which we named fold, which is cool, but I'm gonna reduce image reduce because change that. Cool, and we're gonna type reducer. Cool. Now I'm happy with this implementation. I'm gonna steal this here and gonna take that down. If you want this code, or like, you can just watch the previous video by clicking here. It's on the YouTube channel. And now I want to change this call to use our reducer function. Something like that. See if our filter still works. Does not. Oh no, I'm using the wrong order. It's gonna be this, no? Meep. Yeah, cool, now it works. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Like that. I'm going to see that it still works. Our little unit test. Nice. This is how you implement map and filter using reduce, and I hope that it was helpful to you, and that you find that higher order functions and reduce is a little bit less scary. And if you still think it's scary, I suggest that you just try this for yourself. Try implementing map and filter using reduce on your own. Just go through the motions and just get a feel for it. Because reduce is something that you don't necessarily use all that often. It's often just for loop is a better approach unless you need to compose a lot of functions. But it is really nice to get a feel for it and able to understand it, because it allows you to understand functional programming at a basic level. I really recommend that. It just makes you less scared and makes it easier to think and reason about things, and makes you understand the philosophy of a functional language a little bit better, even if you don't use it all that much. Yeah. And that's it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that this was valuable. You have just watched an episode of Fun Function. If you're watching the YouTube recording, then I suggest you join us for the next live stream. This is recorded live at 7 a.m. Pacific time. You can find that time in your local time zone at twitch.tv/funfunfunction. There you can also follow so that you get a notification in the Twitch app when we go live. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been amazing. Until next Monday morning, stay curious.